Hey there, I'm back. Sorry I'm a little late today. I had a phone call that came right at 5 o'clock. Anyway, uh, I also had laser done on my eye this morning. So if one of my eyes looks a little dilated, you'll know why. Um, anyway, yeah. So I got a lot done last night after I did the feed. Um, Basically, this is what Sammy looks like right now, full of pins. Um, I don't think I need to adjust it, but maybe I do. I'll tell you what, he has a lot more motion in this body than he did in the old one. I was thinking this is actually kind of funny because he's like a turtle right now. But where's his eyes? I'm not going to put his ears on, but you can kind of see his eyes at least. So that's where he's at compared to the original. Oop, there goes his eye. All right. So let me tell you what happened yesterday with how this went. Because I was doing the wedges. Originally, I was just going to use the wedges, but I ended up having to true it up and make its own pattern. So his body pattern, that's where his lower body pattern ended up. Just a second. Okay, so and I also put so it's L200 down here, and then there's a lip of about an inch of dry fast foam here, so that way I'll be able to sew the sew the jersey mesh to the bottom and at the top, which to give it a little bit more support. And this is all just kind of structural for his eventual fur body. It looks like he's wearing a turtleneck, but um, in the final puppet, I ended up using this as the pattern for the jersey mesh. This is what his body. So it goes like that. I suppose I could do the overhead camera, but it goes like that. Ouch! It goes like, yeah, it goes like that to make his round body. I originally thought I was going to have to put 2 bands of boning in there, but I got away with just one. I started to put 2 in there, but what ended up happening is it constricted it too much. So I think that's all the support I'll need. However, I got to do a lot of sewing and gluing on this thing. So that's what you get to see today. I had hoped that maybe I could drape today, but I think probably draping will be tomorrow. Now let me get into it. So here's Sammy. And I started working on the stitching, but it wasn't going real well. So I'm going to start over. Things should progress pretty fast from now on. All this internal stuff, well, I still have the hands to do, but all this internal stuff always takes a bunch of time. And then once you're able to start actually putting the final bits, let me turn that. Once you're able to put the final fur on and all that stuff, it starts to really take shape very quickly. At least that's what I found. So I took a nap after I got the laser surgery done this morning and slept for about 4 hours, I guess. And I woke up and my hair reminds me of Lex Luthor's in the original Superman, when it's like it's all pompadour on one side and no, it looks like a toupee. contrary to popular belief, I do not wear toupee yet. Okay, and so basically I'm just going to run a whip stitch through the foam all the way around up here, and then do the same at the bottom. And then I know there's an easier way to do, like by making a channel for the boning, but I don't know if I'd ever get this placement right once I took it off here. So I'm just gonna hand sew it on. It's gonna be lots of fun, both for you and for me. So I used to glue it first, but I was ruining so many pins that I've been finding that if I sew it first and then glue it, I get basically the same effect. So again, it doesn't have to be perfect as much as it has to be strong. And the gluing and the sewing kind of is the idea that if the stitches don't hold, then at least the glue will, and if the glue doesn't hold, at least the stitches will. That's kind of the idea. Give myself every chance for success. And I don't know that this is going to do much other than just help me drape the body, but I also think it's going to help structurally for the life of the puppet. Not that I think my puppets are alive. It's tough. See, I've got the glue from the other. I owned a thimble. I've got the glue from the other, from the actual neck tube that I have to get through on some of this. So I might have a couple stitches that are harder than others. This is another reason I like to use dry fast, is that you can actually sew into it. You can sew into other types, but it's not always easy. Oh, somebody's here. Hey, Adam, how's it going? Thank you. It's good to see you too. You haven't been on in a while. You been working on something? And it does gather up here kind of weird because it's not quite the right size. But like I said, this is all structural. Nobody will ever see this. So just be our little secret. I might be able to at least drape it. I don't know if I'll get the final fur, but I can at least drape it today, maybe. Let's see how I do. See how long this hand stitching takes me to do. I'm tying a knot about I'm trying to do about every inch. But it's a very loose stitch, so it's about every 4 stitches. Sammy gets quite a bit of, well, I don't know if he'll get a lot of, a lot of abuse this time, but the old Sammy's always got a lot of abuse because he was the only puppet that normal sized hand people could use. Because I have tiny little hands, and most puppeteers I have used with melon pole or have worked with melon pole have tiny little hands too. But Sammy's a little bit bigger puppet, so a lot of times normal people with gigantism, can't get their hand inside the other melon pole puppets. So at conventions, people are like, "Oh, can I try the puppet?" I'm like, "Here, try Sammy." I'm good. Thanks for asking. Yes, I am working on a puppet for my colleague. Need to finish it in 2 weeks. I just did two likeness puppets in 6 days, which is made a little tuxedo and a wedding dress. It was quite. I guess I always say that I aspire to be the 2-day puppet guy, and I feel like that was another 2-day puppet guy thing, even though it was really 3-day puppet guy. I got to relax, and so instead of it taking me 2 days, it took me 3. They turned out really good, though. I'm really happy with them. Wish I could show them to you. So start up the second piece of thread. You guys will be amazed at how good this will look on Monday or Tuesday. See, I made a little hole when I was cutting off. Like I said, I started this earlier today, but my eyes just weren't up to it. So I made a little hole in the in this getting the stitches out, and so that's why I'm going around that little hole there. It shouldn't be a problem. So I'm going to sew the top and the bottom, and then I'm going to retry it just to make sure that nothing is shifted. And once that's done, I'm going to run a stitch around this to take out all these pins. And I'll probably glue everything after that. That's my plan. Let's see if I stick to it. So Chris Gleason, the puppeteer of Sammy all these years, is very excited about this puppet. So let me tell you a little bit about the Sammy puppets of the past. The first Sammy weighed 20 pounds, and I'm not joking. We weighed it. It weighed 20 pounds of. There was no foam in it. There might have been no foam in the hands, but no, there was no foam in the hands either. It was all polyfill, 20 pounds of polyfill. He's basically built like a pillow, and was so difficult to puppeteer that Chris didn't put his hand in there like this. He put his hand in there like this to flap the bottom jaw, and then the head just hung there. So that's the way he puppeteered that whole thing, because his hand was not strong enough to support that head and get the jaw moving because it was so heavy. So the second one I built, which was my good friend who just lost a couple years ago, or a few months ago actually, Clydeen Nee, was my boss in Color, and she liked the original Sammy but didn't like that he wasn't furry, so she gave me $80 to buy some fake fur to make a new Sammy, which I did. And I really, I took to heart that he weighed too much the first time, so I was able to really improve it, and the second one weighed 10 pounds. And again, I didn't know what I was doing. But we used that one for a few years, and that one got rebuilt a few years later, and that one was the one that had the live hands, and he was much bigger, but he weighed a lot less. I got him down to about 4 pounds because it was mostly foam at this point. And but those live hands, because I didn't know how to build live hands, they were creepy on camera. These tiny little, so he never had live hands after that. And let me see how this is doing. That mouth, I will make a puppet for a charity, or next month I will make a puppet for a charity auction where collected funds will go to children on ecological center in Westsaw. Very cool. Warsaw. Okay, so let's check this. So his head's sewn on now. Again, he still looks like he has a turtleneck. You'll see, though, that with that there, it's still going to shift his whole body around when he turns his head. But the fact that he has any motion at all is an improvement over every other puppet I've built of this character. I could have made him have an internal neck that wasn't attached, but I don't like that seam. There's really nowhere to hide it in this design. So this is one of the limitations of the puppet, is he's not going to have a whole lot of movement in his neck, but he does have quite a bit more than he used to. All right, let's tackle this one down here. And I wonder if I should bring it up a little. No, I'm just going to, because it's all nice and tight here, I think I'm going to just sew it as is and then just glue it down here. And he may need a little bit more structure up in his shoulders to accommodate those arms. But as of right now, I'm not planning on doing it. I might give him some Foss-shaped shoulder blades that will kind of float on this jersey mesh, so that he can. What do I do with my needle? That's it. So that it can have a little bit of structure for his arms, but I won't know that until I get to that point. He's going to have a 2-piece body to some extent, because I don't think I can pattern it. I don't think I have enough fur to run enough down from his head all the way down to his body, but I think I'm going to do the head and yeah, probably the head to about here, all the way around for the head patterning, and then I'll pattern the body off of that, and then join the two and try to give it the best stitch I possibly can, so it doesn't look like it's been reattached, Bride of Reanimator or whatever. Hey Jorge, how's it going? Or is it George? I think it's Jorge, but I've known people that pronounce it both ways. So I saved myself a lot of grief by putting this strip of reticulated foam right here to sew into. I can tell you already, because on Ralph it was a mess. But like certain foams are better for certain things. Reticulated foam doesn't hold its shape real well, but L200 does. So I'm kind of using the foams in such a way that I'm getting the best of both worlds, I guess. So it has structure and I'm able to sew into it. Gotcha. Yeah, the guy who was the illustrator or the inker on the second Melancholy book was named Jorge, but he went by George. So that's the only reason I didn't know. His bottom of his body here totally reminds me of a salad bowl or a lampshade. One reason I like the neck tubes and all this is that once you install the neck tube, you can actually put it on a stand and it'll hold its shape, or at least you can get all the pieces together. Like it always bothers me when I have to take pictures, in progress pictures, and the head doesn't have a neck tube yet. And so basically I can kind of tape or pin the body in place and just hope that they don't notice there's no neck. So I think this is going to be pretty cool once I get it to this point. That's about a third of the way. And then I'll glue, after I get this one done, I'll glue it all the way around. I think I'm just going to end it there. I thought I could get all the way to the center line, but I think I should change it. I think this is the 6th Sammy I've built. So it was there was a 20-pound one and there was a 10-pound one. There was one with live hands. There was one that I made in 2001 that was the same batch as that Ralph I started with. And then I made this one in 2000, or the one that I have behind me in 2007-ish. So that's 5. So this is the 6th one. And most of them are still accounted for. The first one is with Chris Gleason. Second one, my friend Robin Deibler gave it to her. I used to work with her, and her son just loved the puppets, so made that one. Third one ended up in. So John Russell is a puppeteer that I knew in Chicago, or know in Chicago, and he had a church group that was called Kids Church. So I donated that live hand Sammy to that, and he became the evil rat in some of their productions. I have no idea what happened to the 4th one, and then 5th one's behind me. So the nice thing about these furry puppets is that they tend to last even when the insides start to fall apart, because even though the innards may not still be puppeteerable, they still work pretty well as stuffed animals. You know, the 4th Sammy might be in my storage space. It seems to me there's a Sammy in there, but he was in kind of rough shape, so I might have just pitched him at some point. They couldn't have stolen that one. One that actually had been rebuilt already. So what are you working on, Jorge? Who knew watching somebody sew badly could be so entertaining? I used to watch quilting shows, so what do I have to talk about? See, there's no glue on this side, so that's why it's so easy for me to sew it, as compared to the head, which has just covered in glue. Oops. No, I've done it. Okay, there we go. See, I probably spent an hour last night pinning this in place. So I tried to make sure that it was all set up correctly. It's one of the reasons why it's been pretty easy going as far as getting this all to lay the way I want it to. So close. So close, but yet so far. Okay. Did the original puppet have a foam body? No. So which one? So are you talking original one? That one? That one? Or are you talking about the original one from 1994? That one has a foam body, and I believe it's the second foam body that's in there. But one of the problems with this original body is that's basically all he can do. Like he has no motion at all. He can't even really turn his head, kind of, I guess. But yeah, he's all foam in there. It's all like I think it's 1-inch foam. Yeah, because it was so heavy, and it doesn't even fit. Look, it's all bunched up in there. But that's one of the things I'm trying to improve on this one is that because his body's will be mostly like it's kind of a combination between a sack and a regular puppet. It's sack from here, and then it's foam down at the bottom. So, I mean, he'll get a little bit more play out of there, but he'll be able to look all over, which is great. Okay, so now that looks pretty good. So I guess I'll stitch on the boning now and then glue it. I was going to glue it before I did the boning, but I think that's probably not a good idea because then I got to wait for it to dry. I think I'm just going to run a stitch along it because it's all covered in fabric. I think I'm going to run a stitch all along it. The other thing I could do is I could kind of weave it in, but I think that's just asking for trouble. And hey, Josiah, how's it going? I saw your didn't you just make a Fozzie? Is that right, or was that somebody else's? If you made a Fozzie, I got a question for you. Okay, this could be where it all falls apart. Oh, great. So how did you tackle the hat? Like, what I I guess if I were to attempt it, I'd have to make it from scratch, but I have no idea where to begin to make a hat that small. Unless you can find some kid size that's right. I just was curious. So I'm just making sure I get through the twill um, casing, I guess, that's on this boning. It has like a nylon, or I think it's nylon or polyester. I don't know what it is actually. Some sort of plastic. It's in there. Not using actual whale boning, but or steel. I've never made a body like this before, but I've always figured this is the way I should do it. We'll see if it works. I don't know if you guys remember the capybara I built recently, but that one had a very Sammy-like body, like the old one. But there's very little movement out of that thing, so that's one of the reasons why I want to try and tackle it this way. It's to make it a little bit more puppeteerable. Even though I don't really do much with Muppets with Melonpool anymore, you know, just in case a Melonpool movie breaks out, at least I have the puppets ready. For Fozzie's hat, I know it takes a wooden buck, and the hat is made around that. I also have a hat pattern I can share with you. Oh, that's cool. Did you make the hat yourself, or did you have it made by somebody else? I mean, that's probably how I would do it. I would try and make it myself, just if I couldn't source it. But I've always been curious. Like when I did Lady Elaine, the coolest thing about it was that she could wear American Girl doll clothes. So I was able to find her sweater just on Etsy for somebody that liked to make red sweaters for the American Girl dolls. So, but as far as finding a Fozzie-sized pork pie hat, I wouldn't even know where to begin. Maybe that's my new business. Just selling pork pie hats for puppets. All right. I know that like Big Bird and Bear in the Big Blue House are kind of constructed mostly of boning, but other than a couple of pictures, I've never really seen how they go about that. I'm sure there's a whole science to it. I had the hat built by someone else, but I'm planning to attempt my own version for my personal Fozzie. Oh, cool. Yeah, I know Adam Savage had some videos about him reshaping his Indiana Jones hat. So I think there's probably some good, like you wet it and you steam it, you put it on the form, and then you let it dry. and it gets the shape. But I wasn't sure if there was some place out there that you could buy them. I just wasn't aware of. FozzieHats.com or something. I've seen so many people building Fozzies lately. He seems like just a monster of a puppet, though. I don't know that I will ever build a Fozzie. But I never thought I'd build a Piggy either, and I've done that. So. Okay, there's kind of a pinch here that I want to take care of. I can. That may be a mistake. Let's see. This is actually the neck ring or the body ring I made for the top one, but it was kind of messing up the movement of the head, so I thought I'd just move it down until it looked good. So it may not be quite the right size, which might be why it was bunched up there, but I'll put all the bunch up in the back. What did I just do? I think it's an angle too, which was intentional because I wanted there to be more material in the back than there is in the front to give them that kind of sloping body. I'm doing a bang up job here. All right. Let's see now. Well, it's still gonna be a little bit of a bunch up, but I'm gonna ease it up here to the back. Kind of hide my mistakes, hide my crimes. Yeah, I go much more for the functional than perfection, I guess. The Maca quality. The perfect crime. Home stretch here. I see you commented. I just haven't put my glasses back on so I can read it. I had to stop broadcasting at 5 o'clock because at 6 o'clock I get hungry. Okay. Oh, you were just talking about the hat. I think I'm going to have to get a new thread in a second. I may have to adjust this. We'll see. Just so long as it doesn't affect his posture too much, I might just let it go. Did you put boning in the, or did you, did Fozzie have a body, foam body, or was it mostly boning? I think the real one's just boning. And all this is probably a pretty unnecessary step as far as this goes, but it's going to really help me when I pattern the fur for the body. Having all this jersey mesh in here. And plus, it was a bad batch of jersey mesh, so I kind of want to get rid of it. It's not really that bad. It's just different than the stuff I like to use. That's some ugly stitches. See where we're at. I've done both versions of bodies. I prefer the boning hoop version for the foam body. Yeah, I think that's probably right. Although if it's that actually looks pretty good. Yeah, I mean he's gonna have a little bit of drift here, but he does have a lot more. You know, he can, like when he's running on that wheel, it'll look a little bit better. All right, I'm gonna glue it. I'm not going to put glue on the boning, but I'll put glue on the top and the bottom. Okay. Yeah, the fur will add quite a bit. It's not that much smaller. I'll show you them side by side as soon as I get done with the gluing. The nice thing about this jersey mesh is it's so porous that you don't actually have to use it like regular contact cement. You can just brush it on the top like this and it'll seep in and act as glue.
This is why I use jersey mesh for this sort of stuff. And a good source of jersey mesh, if you don't want to buy it online, is jerseys. If you go to a thrift store, you can usually find a multitude of old workout jerseys in there. You can cut up to make use for puppets. Just wash them. They used to sell this at Joann's, but the last few years I wasn't of Joann's. I wasn't able to find it there. I'm also using a lot longer fur on this version of this one, which I'm going to trim back. I'm going to put it on. He'll look like he was electrocuted, and then I'll probably the day after I get or maybe even the same day that I get the fur on, I'm going to at least trim the face so we can kind of get the head done. And the only places I'm going to leave it long are, although his bangs may be tufts that I sew on later, his cheeks will stay long, and the cuffs of his forearms will stay long, and everything else will be shaved down to about an inch to half an inch long. On the old ones, what I would do is I had like maybe an eighth of a yard of long fur that I found someplace. I found it in a remnant thing. I never found any more. But I had the short fur that just miraculously was the same color as this. So I made the entire thing out of the short fur, and then I just sewed on tufts, which never really looked great, but it was the solution I came up with at the time. All right, so that's all done. Let that dry. Mainly with this, I want to make sure I don't glue it in some way, like have it folded over when I do it, if I can help it. There'll be a little bit of that because that's kind of the way I color it. But there's so much of the internals that, like, when people buy a puppet, they don't realize how much time goes into stuff that you'll never see. But it's so important to do all this stuff on the inside so that they don't fall apart while you're trying to perform it. They obviously take a lot more abuse than the stuffed animal does. So, which is why I've spent like a week just doing the internal structure. And it'll probably take 3 or 4 days to just do all the stuff you actually see. I haven't even made the hands yet, so you're in for a treat. Okay, I think let me straighten him out before he dries. All right, so
Ugh. Let me turn that fan up a little bit. Okay, so he might be a little smaller, but he's not as small as you think. Let's see if I can get him side by side. So yeah, he's a little smaller. He does look a lot smaller on camera. Let's see. So head-wise, he's the same length. The heads are the same length. And sidewise, it's a little smaller. Body wise, the body actually ends right here. This is just sleeve down here, which this one will have too. So his body ends. Oh, his arm is just held on with a safety pin. His body is this long, and his final body is the same length. So proportion-wise, he's a little smaller, but again, the fur is going to be about an inch to 3 inches long all the way around, so it'll fill out a lot of it. Okay. Hey Dave, how's it going? Any plans for Halloween's costumes this year? I have seen the trailer for Starfleet Academy. I'm not sure what to think about it, but I'll definitely watch it. Let's see. As far as Halloween costumes, no, I don't hardly have any plans yet. We'll see. I think Tilly's going to be Crypto, but that's about all I know so far. I'm waiting for this to dry, so I'll just kind of talk. I am actually going to. I don't know if this is. I don't know if this is going to be a bad thing to do, but I actually am going to be a puppeteer at Not Scary Farm this year, so that'll probably take up a good chunk of my Halloween this year. So I'm really moving up in the world. Oh, I needed your help where a design where I build my creature from the Black Lagoon for Halloween. Yeah, that's that would be an interesting one. I would probably pattern it the same way I pattern anything, but I do it on a head form, so I kind of could do it. I mean, when I did Nine Numb, the way I did it was I found a kid's army helmet that fit snug against my head, and so then I built off of that, so I got the proportions working. Thank you, Dave. It's me being gainfully employed for the first time in 2 years. For at least 6 weeks. Okay, let's see. All right, so he's dry now, so I can actually start draping him. Everything's off. His teeth are out. His eyes are off. His ears are off. So, yeah, I guess I'll get started on that. I think maybe this camera might be the best for that. Let's see. There's Ralphie poking his head out. So one of the things that I have to keep in mind is when puppeteered, he'll be more like this, and the stand kind of messes that up, but maybe just a second. It's going to make him higher, but All right, that's closer to his actual posture when being puppeteered. So you can see how he kind of hunches over. So I want to make sure when I pattern it, although this isn't as important for the head, I want to make sure that I don't have it too tight in certain areas, so that I'll shut that window too. All right. Oh, that's a cool idea. Thinking about a foam-based puppet, kind of like the old Muppet Show. You know, I've had a lot of success using what I call latex mache, where you use liquid latex and tissue paper, like paper mache. You might try that too. It'll add some weight, but it'll give it that skin-like look if you wanted to go that route. Okay, let me get some fabric. Okay. But I invariably end up helping people with Halloween costumes. I'm kind of the guy they know to go to. So, so I'm sure I'll be doing that as well to some extent. Although I'm going to be building Olaf and Sven as well, so that might take up a good chunk of my time. Okay. So I'm going to make sure the stretch is going that way, even though there's very little stretch in the foam. Oh, that's what happened to that pen. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go center line. What am I going into there? Oh, I'm going into that PVC pipe. That's what it would. Sorry, I can't see. Okay. I'm just going to find the center line. It's the same thing I always do. Okay. I'm going to find the center line here. Ooh. Oh. Okay. I was thinking this was the side I was trying to do. And I was like, I'm going to run out of fabric. So I'd like to get the dart behind this eyebrow if I can, or maybe in front. But I don't know that I'm going to be able to. Okay, stretch going this way. I'm going to also find the back here. I'm not trying to put any tension on this if I can, because I know there's hardly any stretch to that fur. Yeah, it looks like his eyebrow is going to cover that dart, which is going to be wonderful. Okay. All right, I'm going to find the bottom. Okay. And I think there's going to be a dart right here at the nose. I'm going to find the mouth. So I want the mouth to curl over, so I got to remember to mark it outside. And I want it to also curl up under this lip. So which is why I made it at L200, because I wanted to make sure that it would be strong enough to support that fur. Will you be making a full mechs for Olaf and Sven? Probably not. I'm gonna try and at least put eyebrows on Sven that work, but I mean on Olaf. But I think that's probably it. They're not paying me enough to do the whole thing, to figure all that out. He looks like a naked hamster, which is what he is. I'm going to actually kind of engineer in a little bit of a fold here, I think. Yeah, maybe not. Okay, I'm going to find the front seam. Yeah, I was originally hired to be a zombie at Knott's, but I mentioned on the application that I was a puppeteer, and they said you're too short to be a puppeteer at Knott's, and I guess they changed their mind after they'd cast everybody, because they contacted me to see if I want to be a puppeteer. I'm like, yeah. Maybe they watch my videos. All right, so that's the basic one side. I'm going to do it all over on this side again. Make sure the stretch is going the right way. I don't know what the best way to show this other than I just got to do it. So I'm taking the pin out of the center line and I'm tying the two together, or pinning the two together. This side doesn't seem to need a. Let's see. I may not need that dart in the front, which would be fantastic. Okay. Do they make you wear the booster shoes? No, I don't think so. I think that they have some other reason that they could use me this time, but made me glad. I know nothing about what I'm going to be doing there other than they want me as a puppeteer, which is fine with me. So when in California, I'm going to Not Scary Farm. Keep on the lookout for me. So I'm just basically pinching it together without pulling on the fabric to the point where it stretches, trying to get as clean a line as possible, trying to get the dart basically in the same spot. Sorry if this is a bad video. I got to be able to see it too. Ouch. Mark your bingo cards. I just poked myself with a pin. Okay. Okay. Trying to go up under that little lip. Trying to do it before I run out of pins. Way cool. It's a gigantic puppet, and you get to be the puppeteer. Puppeteer. Okay. Ouch. I have no idea where that pin's going. There it is. Okay, there's that. Yeah, we still need a dart right there. Just checking stuff here. All right, so I think that's pretty close. So that's basically so obviously that's not going to be, it's going to be like that, and that'll be just enough pins. All right, so that's basically going to be my patterns, which I will true up now. I'm gonna basically just draw along the pins. Oops. And I want to make sure that it's straight at the bottom so I don't have a lot of grief trying to get that body attached. So we'll see though. Oh, my bald spot. Okay. That's one side. And again, people always ask me why I do both sides and not just one. Because I want it to be the average of these two sides so that it'll be balanced and symmetrical. And it doesn't get off by me just taking a shortcut. Okay, so those are the two patterns. Okay, and now I'm going to take this other pin, the one that fell out, if I can find it. Oh, there's a couple more pins. I'm going to go through and I'm going to put the registration marks on so I can get it all back together. So actually I can do it on this side. I can actually just draw them. But then what I'll do is I'll stick the pin in right where that registration is, and then it comes out this other side, and I know where it lines up. And I always try to put a pin in the, or I attempt to put a pin where the or a registration mark into the dart, but I don't always succeed. So I'm gonna try. Because they're on a 1-to-1. Like the registration mark should line up on the center line because they're the same point. But when you do darts, it's anybody's guess. At least the way I do it. I was wondering if I should make a test head out of the old fur that I have plenty of to see if it fits, or if I should just move on to the real fur and hope for the best. I think I'm going to make a fake head out of it, and I'm going to do a test fit because, like I said, I only have enough to do this one puppet, and after that, I'm all out of fur. So it's a little harrowing. Okay, I'm taking out all the pins now. This is the area that most people need to see. Very few tutorials showing draping techniques. I hope I'm doing it right. This is the way I kind of figured out, and then I had a little bit of help when I first got into BJ's shop, but it seems to work for me. It's a little weird, I think. I don't think anybody, like, I don't know if you were making a coat, if you would do it this way, but it seems to work on giant hamsters. I'll probably true this up, and then I don't think I'll do actually any sewing tonight because it's getting a little late, but I can at least true it up. And the nice thing is, and the reason I do both sides too, is you don't really know how the one side is going to affect the other side until you put it together. And in this case, you are able to pattern both sides at once, and therefore you know how the final puppet's gonna, the skin is gonna react with the other side, and because there'll be tensions or looseness where you don't expect it. And this will take care of that problem. All right. Oops. Okay. All right. So here we have our two pattern pieces. There's one of them. What did I do with the other one? There's the other one. And I'm going to cut both of them out. You're doing it right for puppets. You'll be learning special draping techniques when you get into the course you bought. Oh, okay. Yeah, I should get back to that since I paid for it with money I didn't have. I think that the draping techniques that are in that class are going to be really helpful when I do more clothes. I probably should have watched it before I did that tuxedo, but I got it done. Whatever. And I use the cheapest fabric with the same basic stretch that I can. I might have wanted to do this with muslin for the fur just because it doesn't have any stretch either, but I didn't have any muslin, so I just tried not to stretch it if I could help it. Okay, there's one half. So I get to help. I get to pick up my friend at the airport in a little bit. And as you probably know, if you watch this very often, it's not going to be much of a drive for me. So, all right. Okay, so I got the two halves here all cut out. I'm going to true up this pattern. I should make a little graphic that's like, true up this pattern. You can just envision it. Okay, I'm heading out. I'll check the rest of the live on the replay. Take care, Steve. Thanks for the live stream. You're welcome. I'm almost done too. I'll be done in probably 20 minutes. All right, so I'm just going to put this on here right in the middle, or pretty close to the middle. Pin it right into this. Now, when I do this, I try to get it as symmetrical as possible. Like I did my best. We'll see if it actually worked. But we'll see. When I true it up, it'll be the average of these two sides. Grab a red and a blue pen. Is that blue? I'll say it's blue. I'm going to mark all the registration marks. And then I'm going to draw all the way around. Okay. All right, now on this one, I'm going to take a pen and I'm going to transfer all the registration marks to the other side. And basically, I just put my thumb against it and then draw on the back with the right where that registration mark is. And also get it all over my thumb. And I invariably always forget to do at least one of these, but I do my best. All right, here we are. Now I basically try to line up. Did I forget one? Okay, try and line up as many of these as I can, at least in the general area. They're not going to line up perfectly, but you try and get them as averaged out as you can. That's probably about as close as I'm going to get. This is all old hat for you guys. You guys are all, you already know how to pattern, but if I can reach just one person, it'll make it all worthwhile. Okay, so now I grab the blue pen and I mark. Now, the reason I use a red and a blue is because I like to very quickly be able to tell which, when you're trying to find the averages of these marks, it's real easy to get confused as to which is the real one and which is the one, which is each side, I guess. And using two different colors helps me distinguish between the two. I've also used a pencil for one side and like a ballpoint pen for the other side. And I don't always use red and blue. I usually try to find two colors that are pretty contrasting, and that I, being colorblind, can see the difference between. All right, I got both sides drawn in, got the registration marks all in, and now I'm going to average it out. Okay, so I'm going to grab a black pen. I'm going to mark all the halfway points between all the registration marks. Okay, now I'm going to, like where there's 2 points that I want to do, I make a little dot and kind of draw in the halfway point between each one. So this one's really easy because it's the same line. There's the dot. And you can refine this a little bit as you're cutting it out because you can still see the original lines. But give yourself a guide. Give yourself a break. Okay, now I found the average of that entire, the two sides. And then I just cut on the black line. And I use different scissors than I use for the fabric. Sorry about that. See, I'm correcting from that. See the blue and the red. I didn't follow that curve exactly, so I'm correcting for that right now. All right, so there's my head pattern. I'm gonna notch all these, just the black ones, and you can also just cut it with scissors if you don't have a notcher. That's $7 I ever spent. I don't know if it was the best $7, but it was about $7. All right, so now I'm going to label it. Sammy fur head pattern times 2. The direction of the stretch, if there's any, is going to go this way. Okay, mouth, dart, neck, and then I also want to put the date on, which today is 8/14, 14/25. Is there anything else that I need to do other than, I think I'm going to put glue here on the inside of it because that's where the eyebrow is. So I'm just going to I'm probably doing this too early, but I'm going to just make a note to myself so that I remember glue. Okay, so I'm glue here too. Well, this is the mouth plate, so that's not too difficult. Okay, we got through it. Here's the head pattern. I will probably make a test one tomorrow and maybe sew the final one up tomorrow too, because I'm just going to run it through the sewing machine. If it fits, great. If it doesn't, make adjustments and maybe have to do it again. But then after that, I'll be able to hand stitch on the first one. It shouldn't take too long. There's just 3 seams, 2 darts on each side, so 4 seams, and then one around the center line. So that's 5 seams, 6 seams for the lower jaw. There's a lot of seams. Seems like it. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. And unless you have any questions, I'm going to head out to the airport. Let's see. There's no questions I see. All right. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you later. And